Hello everybody out there in the bookverse, it's Stephanie, and today I'm back with another Shardathon video, and this, I feel like I need to enunciate better, Shardathon video, and this one I'm going to be going through the prompts and giving you book recommendations for some books that you could read that fit those prompts, or books that I have read that I know fit those prompts. So I'm going to give you one for each of the prompts that are on the list, and then I'll also tell you like some other prompts that I know it would fit. And then at the end, I'll have a few extra books that I know fit some of the prompts as well. So I have a lot of books on here, but be warned, most of them are fantasy. That is my primary genre, so sorry, but those are the book recommendations that I'm going to be giving here, but I do have a little bit of like diversity within my fantasy. So I have my little list of prompts here. The first prompt is for Kaladin, and that is the reluctant hero trope. And for this one, I am going to recommend The Eye of the World by Robert Jordan. This is the first book in his Wheel of Time series. And we do have a character here who is very reluctant to take on the role that he is kind of being pushed into, forced into, told that it is his destiny, and he really has no choice. I think that this book is actually a lot of fun if you like that classical adult high fantasy feel, because it definitely does fit into that. It has the classical tropes that you like to see. It has a lot of the classical tropes, like the chosen one, the wise mentor, like all these things. It also has a lot of the same feel, I think, as the Lord of the Rings in plot, especially. So I had a lot of fun reading this first book within the Wheel of Time series, and it does fit quite a few of the prompts. So, like I said, it fits the reluctant hero trope, it fits the mentor trope, a training element. It might be a second chance read for some of you guys. I know a lot of people have DNF this series, and it could be considered a challenging read as well. So it could fit several of the prompts. The second prompt is for Syl, and that is a companion trope. And for this one, I am recommending Age of Myth by Michael J. Sullivan. Oh my gosh, the animal companion in this one is just so cute and so sweet. I love the animal companion in here. Mina is the best, and I love her, and she is just the best wolf. And I cannot get enough of her relationship with Suri. It's just, I absolutely love this series. This entire series is so amazing. I would highly, highly recommend it. It's an adult high fantasy series, but it starts very primitive where people haven't even invented the wheel, and we kind of see how things develop and they turn, it's just so much fun to read about. I absolutely love the writing style, and it is a very easy adult high fantasy read, particularly this first book, so it's kind of an easy introduction to adult high fantasy if you haven't really read a lot of that. But it does also feature a reluctant hero trope, companion trope, like I said, a mentor trope, it could fit into there. Disability rep, it definitely has that as well. The revenge trope is also there. A training element is there. Neurodivergent rep is in this one as well. Yeah, I think that actually might be the majority, but I think it does fit quite a few of the prompts. So if you wanted to read this one, you could knock out a lot of the prompts on your list. Plus, it's really good. The next one is for Teft, and that is the mentor trope. And for this one, I'm going to recommend Aragon by Christopher Paolini. I really love this series. I know that a lot of people say that it hasn't really stood up to time, but I feel like I read it when I was younger, and it has so much nostalgia for me. And it is quite a fun read. I think it's very easy to get into. It has a decently complex world without being too overwhelming. It is in the YA fantasy category, but I think that it does kind of border on the adult side a little bit because of the complexity and the politics going on in here. So I think that adult readers who don't really read a lot of YA would also enjoy this one. And it has a lot of the classic fantasy things like elves and dwarves and dragons and humans and all those things thrown in. So I really, really enjoy this series a lot. Plus, it does fit several of the prompts: reluctant hero, companion trope, mentor trope, disability rep, but I don't think it's so much in this one. Maybe just towards the end. Revenge trope, training element. Okay, I think that's probably about all that we can fit into this one. But some of the other ones that are a little more individualized might fit into it as well, like a challenging read or a beneficial or sprint or second chance read. If it fits into any of those for you, it can fit that as well, but that's kind of individualized to you. The next prompt is for Rock, so a book that features food. And honestly, I don't really like books that center on food. I don't tend to enjoy those too much. So I actually went with The Long Way to a Small Angry Planet by Becky Chambers. So this book does talk quite a bit about food because it does have a lot of different species that are on the same spaceship, and they are also landing on different planets. And so the different foods that the different people eat is kind of important. Plus we do have a character in here who is a cook. And so he loves cooking and food is very important to him. And so I think that food is fairly prominent within this book, and so it would count. But this is a very character-focused sci-fi book. The actual like science elements in it are pretty soft, and so if you are new to sci-fi or you don't really read a lot of it, I think this is a good book for you if you want to try out a little bit of science fiction. It is pretty easy to read. It's not super complicated. There are some politics going on in here, but it's nothing that's really overwhelming. So I think this is a really easy, quick read, but also really fun and very thought-provoking read. And food is a little bit in there. Other prompts that it fits: disability rep is in here, neurodivergent rep, queer rep is also in here. You could maybe use it for indigenous rep, but it's not like our world indigenous. It'd be like indigenous to their different planets. So I don't know, you might be able to fit it in that one as well. Beneficial, I think, because it is very thought-provoking on different social issues. And sprint, you might be able to like sprint this one out. I don't know. Depends on how fast of a reader you are. But yeah, this one could fit several of the prompts. And a lot of the prompts it can fit aren't ones that are necessarily ticked off with a lot of my other suggestions. So that might be a good one to throw in. Next one I have is for the Lopen, and that's disability rep. And I decided to go with Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I don't really know why I went with this one. It definitely has disability rep in there, but I feel like it's done in a way that the disability rep isn't fixed, or you know, like there's no like magical solution to it, and the person is also still quite a boss with this disability rep that is present in here. So I think that's something that might be appealing for people when you're looking for disability rep in here. But this is a YA fantasy book, and it's a heist story. It has magic. It's in the same world as the Grishaverse. So if you enjoyed Shadow and Bone, the TV show, this one might be a fun read for you because you'll recognize some of the characters for sure. And other tropes that it has are revenge trope is definitely in here. Queer rep is in here as well. And maybe humorous. There's a little bit of humor in here, but it's not really that funny of a book. So it doesn't really hit a ton of the marks, but I feel like the disability rep in here is done a little bit differently than some other books. So I wanted to throw that in here. The next prompt is for Moash, and for that one we need a book that features the revenge trope. And I feel like when I show you my recommendation, you probably have already thought of it if you have read this book, but you're gonna not be surprised whatsoever. And that is The Rage of Dragons by Evan Winter. The entire personality of our main character is revenge. Like, I don't think he has a personality outside of the desire for revenge. So, and that's like what the entire book is about. So I feel like this is a pretty good book to choose for the revenge trope. It is an adult high fantasy series that is African inspired, and it says Rage of Dragons, but I'm gonna warn you, the dragons are not really in here. It's so minimal, you might as well not even have them in the title. But this is essentially a revenge story. This boy is out for revenge, and he works really hard and trains really hard to become the best so he can have his revenge. Now, it will fit other tropes as well. We have the mentor trope. You could fit it into there because there is some of that going on as well. Revenge trope, obviously. Training element, it's very, very training focused, so definitely that one as well. Queer rep, I don't know if it's in this book or the second book, but you could probably count it even if it's within the same series. Indigenous rep, you could count as well. So this is more of like a fantasy indigenous people as opposed to like our world indigenous people, but you could count it for that as well. And you could count it for challenging because it is pretty thick and it does have a pretty complex world that we're jumping into. So you could count it for that as well. So this one could count for several of them, but revenge and training, like it's just all about that. The next prompt is for Scar, and that is a book with a training element. And this one, I'm going to recommend The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. So this is an adult high fantasy series that is inspired by the Second Sino-Japanese War. And we are following a main character who goes to a military school. And so there is definitely training elements in there. Plus she is trained within the magic system of this world, which is very unique and different. And I really liked learning about it. So either way, it'll fit into that, but it'll also fit into other prompts as well. We have the mentor trope that it could fit into. Disability rep, I don't know if it's within this one. I can't remember. Revenge trope, it can fit into this as well. Training element for sure. And you could count it for a challenging read because it is fairly dark. So I would definitely check trigger warnings before going into it, but it can be a challenging read as well. The next prompt is for Sigil, and this is a retelling. And for that, I chose For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. This is a retelling. It looks like it should be of Red Riding Hood, but really I feel like it's much more prominently Beauty and the Beast with some Red Riding Hood elements thrown in there. But it is a fantasy romance, essentially with a creepy wood. The atmosphere is great in this book. I think that was probably my favorite part of this book is the magical creepy wood element for sure. But other prompts that it could fit, we have the reluctant hero trope, a little bit of a training element. I mean, I guess you could fit it in there if you wanted to. Yeah, okay, this one doesn't really fit too much, but it could fit into retelling. Next prompt is for Dabbit, and that is Neurodivergent Rep. For this one, I decided to go with The Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book in his Mistborn Era 2 series. You really could do any of the Mistborn Era 2 books, but if you have read this, Wayne is definitely his own unique person, and he definitely has some sort of neurodivergence. It's not really named like it would be in our world because this is a fantasy world, but he definitely is very unique and he views the world in his own very unique way. And also another character in this book, Steris, could fit into this as well because she is quite detail oriented and she doesn't like things to go not according to plan. She always has backups and she just likes to be in control, and that definitely has some of those neurodivergent vibes as well. So I think those characters in particularly, I would say fit the neurodivergent rep prompt. We have a little bit of the revenge trope. It's not as strong in here. Humorous, it definitely could fit for that because this book does lean much more onto the humorous side than did Mistborn Era 1. It is a pretty quick read, so you could probably read it during a sprint as well. So this doesn't fit as many prompts, but it does fit some of the maybe harder to fill prompts. The next prompt is Layton, and that is for a second chance read. Now, I don't have a recommendation for this one because I feel like this is a very person-to-person prompt. Your second chance read isn't going to be the same as my second chance read, so just find a book that you had tried to read before, put down, didn't finish. It might be one that you're still interested in reading, but you just have been postponing it, so you could give it a second chance. I have no idea what I'm going to use to fit this one yet. I'm still considering on it, but I can't really give recommendations for this one in particular. The next prompt is Dre, and that is for Queer Rep. And for this one, I'm going to recommend The Rainwild Chronicles by Robin Hobb. So this entire series has quite a bit of queer rep in it. It does start in the first book, but it definitely expands as we go forward, and we see more and more of it coming into the story. So I think that this series definitely does a lot of that. It is an adult high fantasy series. This is the third series within Robin Hobb's Realm of the Fourth. No, this is the fourth series within Robin Hobb's Realm of the Elderlings. So I would recommend reading the other ones first, but if you are in a place where you can jump into this one, it definitely has that. Plus, it has the companion trope. You could say it has the mentor trope-ish, but not quite as prominent. Features food. I would say definitely because we're very focused on like feeding the dragons. Revenge trope, yes, you could find that within this series as well. A training element, minimal maybe. Neurodivergent rep, you can find that in here as well. Queer rep, we already said that. Humorous, not so much. And you could put it on as challenging read if you felt so inclined, because Robin Hobb's books tend to be long, even though this is the series with the shortest books. Okay, next is Hager, and for that we have a humorous read, and I chose All Systems Red by Martha Wells. I feel like all of Murderbot's books are fairly humorous, and I really enjoy them. This is an adult sci-fi series. It starts out with 4 novellas that follow a Murderbot who is an AI. It is really there for security, but it doesn't really want to. It would prefer to just watch its TV shows, its soap operas. So I really enjoyed this book. I thought Murderbot was very funny, very entertaining. The way it thinks is so different, and just seeing things through its perspective was a lot of fun. Plus, they're short, they're novellas, so you can read them very quickly. It also fits the reluctant hero trope. It could fit the neurodivergent rep as well, and it could definitely fit into the sprint because it's really short and you can read it really fast. Next prompt is for Rerelaying, and that is Indigenous Rep. For this one, I chose Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley, and this one is actually a YA contemporary book. I know, who am I? And it is set in America, and it follows this Indigenous girl who is kind of a part of this FBI investigation of drug use on the reservation that she lives on. So this definitely has Indigenous rep. It's very focused on the tribe and issues surrounding that, like the laws and the rules and the treatment of Indigenous people. So I think this is definitely a really good one for that. I don't know how many other how many other prompts it will be able to fit though, because it is a contemporary. So I would say probably, I mean, you could fit the training element. There's like hockey in there. If you like really wanted to stretch it, you could probably do that. Yeah, that's probably about it. It doesn't have a ton of the tropes just because it's not that type of a book, but it definitely has good Indigenous rep. The next prompt is for side carry, and for that we need a beneficial read. This is the only book I'm recommending that I have not read, and that is Atomic Habits by James Clear. So I haven't read this book, but I've heard a lot of people have read it and really enjoyed it and found it very beneficial. So I think it says an easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. So I think this would be a beneficial book to read, and it would help you in your everyday life to improve your habits. So that's what I'm going to be recommending for that. Plus it's not too long. So yeah, I don't think it fits any other prompts except for maybe challenging read, because, you know, it's a nonfiction and nonfiction is challenging for me. The next prompt is for Bridge 4 in general, and the prompt that goes with it is Sprint. So I'm just gonna quickly mention my 3 favorite graphic novel series. I haven't read all of the series, keep in mind, but I have Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda, adult high fantasy series. Great artwork, story, very complex, really enjoy it. Next, I actually have read the entire series for this one, and that is Descender by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. And this one is a sci-fi series, and it follows a little AI, and he's so cute. So I really like this one. It's not too complicated and is super quick read. I really enjoyed this entire series. It's 6 volumes long. And the final one is The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. This is an adult contemporary fantasy series, and it is very intriguing. I really love the story. The story is my absolute favorite part. The artwork is fine, but really it is the plot that keeps me going and the characters. It's so well written, so well done. I absolutely love it. I've only read the first volume, but it was phenomenal. So those ones are short, they're easy to read, to sprint, and there are a lot of volumes out, so if you want to keep going within that series, you can as well. And the final prompt is for Chasm Duty, and for that you need a challenging read, and I chose Malice by John Gwynne. Now, I love this book, and I've read the second book, absolutely love that one as well. But I feel like it is fairly challenging because it does just kind of throw you into this world, and it doesn't hold back on all of the information that it is giving you. And in particular, it switches between POVs quite frequently, and you get a lot of them. You aren't eased into that. You definitely are just thrown in, and you're like, okay, here's all the politics, everything, all the characters, try to remember. So I think it's challenging, one, because it's long, and also because it is very complicated in the beginning and you have to really like remember what is happening, because there are a lot of countries and a lot of important people and players within this book and this series. And so keeping up with them at the beginning can be a little bit overwhelming. So this one would definitely fit challenging, and it fits several other prompts as well. Reluctant hero trope, companion trope, mentor trope, disability rep, revenge trope, training element. I don't think it's a retelling as far as I know. Neurodivergent rep. You could maybe have it be your second chance read. I don't know. And a challenging read. So definitely it hits a lot of boxes, but it is pretty long. So a few other books I kind of wanted to mention that fit several of the tropes. We have Lore Olympus by Rachel Smythe. This is a retelling, so it's also really short and a really, really quick read. Like, it looks like it's a little bit longer, but so fast to read. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling, so if you wanted to get something really quick on to fit that retelling prompt, this one would definitely do it. I also have An Ember in the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. This fits the revenge trope, training element, mentor trope. I think it fits disability rep as well, so it definitely has some of those elements in there for sure. Also, I kind of like it, and it's YA, so it's easy and fast read. And finally, I have The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. This one fits the reluctant hero trope, companion trope, you could count it in there, mentor trope, disability rep, revenge trope, training element, neurodivergent rep, queer rep, and challenging read. You could fit it into those. So this one definitely fits a lot of those as well. Plus, I absolutely love this series. So there are a bunch of recommendations for books that you can read for Shardathon. Let me know if you're planning on reading any of these for Shardathon, if you're going to take any of my recommendations. I think that would be really cool and exciting, but let me know if you're going to be participating and what books you're planning on reading. And I will see you guys in some of our sprints. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more from me, definitely hit the subscribe button down below and the bell icon so you'll be notified when I post new content, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.